If you've ever thought, thank God I'm not like that woman, you're not alone. But that thought might be the very thing keeping you stuck. Hello, gals, and welcome to Sober CEO inside of Sobriety Snippets. This is a space where we stop pretending everything's fine, refuse to just cope, and start building from clarity. I'm Becca Jacobson, and welcome to Snippet Land. I'm so glad you found your way here. If you're new, this is the day where everything begins to shift. Today, I want to talk to you about fitting in on our sobriety journey. How do we do that when we stand in a space where no one else is like us? I know that sounds confusing. Promise, I'm going to straighten it all out. Here's what happened to me. There I am, a college professor, and living my professional life and secretly drinking at home alone at night. I used to avoid functions at work where there was alcohol involved because I was terrified I'd have one drink, maybe the second glass, and then accidentally the third, and who knows when I'd land on the fourth and make a fool of I just did not trust my drinking. I couldn't trust it, and I knew that because I'd made so many mistakes in the past. See, the thing is, though, the mistakes I had made in the past were before I got my career. Remember, I was a prostitute in my 20s. And drinking, well, whatever. Everybody was drinking. It really didn't matter. But when in my early 30s, when I decided to change not just not just one thing, but everything, and go to college and get a career and become a completely different person, in effect, start my second life, all of a sudden my drinking was a huge problem and it was something I couldn't talk to anyone about. It was a very, very lonely journey because here's what happened. And, I've mentioned this here on the snippets before. I thought that going to college and becoming a professional would straighten me out, that I'd be able to quit drinking or at least control my drinking. I thought, look, I'm a professional now. I got everything under control. I can control my drinking, but my drinking didn't change. I changed drastically. My life changed, but my drinking didn't change. And there's a really important message there, gals. Just because you're a professional or a businesswoman or have some sort of polished exterior to your life does not mean that drinking won't affect you the way it does anybody. That does not mean that alcohol won't get you. Alcohol, as I like to say, doesn't discriminate. It really doesn't. However, while our journeys to destruction and pain and agony are similar, the journey to healing is not. And that's what this episode is about. So there I am, I get my second life, and only to discover I'm still drinking out of control and I can't control it. I can't fix it. I don't know what to do. In my 20s, when I reached out for help, they sent me off to 12-step programs. A couple of times I ended up in a detox center, jumbled in with a whole bunch of people. Didn't matter who was who, didn't matter. There we were. But after my career started and my drinking was still a problem, I couldn't go back to those places. I knew I couldn't. I had a career, I had an exterior life that I had to protect. There's nothing snobbish about this. How can I go and sit in a basement of a church somewhere and share my struggles when, for all I know, one of my students is going to walk through the door? I didn't live in a very big town, and even in a city, this is likely to happen if you go to meetings in your neighborhood or near your campus or near your business or near your home or whatever. You get my point. So what happens is alcohol will affect us like it affects everyone. I mean, sure, it manifests differently. You're not probably not hanging out in the bars every night, but you're drinking uncontrollably and you're doing it secretly because you know you have a reputation to protect, a life you're building, and a level of professionalism that doesn't allow you to do that. However, what do we do when we decide we want to get sober? Well, most of us feel like we have no choice but to do it alone and in secret. So sure, we might go to a doctor, we might even go to a therapist. But here's what I want you to know, gals. Sobriety doesn't thrive in a secret little conversation with a doctor or a therapist. It requires another person who's been there, who knows exactly how we feel, And in many cases, it requires community, but a safe community of others like us. Let me tell you something. Here's what I want you to know. There is nothing more powerful for you if you are a professional or businesswoman who's struggling than getting in a room, a space, that could be a virtual space or a real space, with other professionals, other businesswomen, other women with a life like yours that are struggling with alcohol. When you walk in that room, whether it's literally walking or logging into that room, that's when you will finally come home to your sobriety and you will realize, oh, first of all, I'm not alone. So many of the limiting beliefs and lies that you're carrying around will just tumble the minute you walk into that room. The minute you look across and you see another woman who's just like you, a woman with a life and a career and the whole exterior of this life that's beautiful and so put together, and underneath secretly drinking. And you'll look across at her and go, wow, look at her. She doesn't look like she has a problem. And she's looking back at you. And that's when all those lies tumble to the ground. They don't stand a chance in the face of that kind of connection. There's a connection there that is unlike anything you can experience when you go talk to your doctor or sit quietly in a room with a therapist, especially a therapist who doesn't have a drinking problem. So what happened for me was there I am, and I'm in my early 50s, and I decide, "Oh my, what," and I'm trying to get sober, and I can't find this space. I can't find these women. I suspect they might be out there, but where? I can't find them. I don't know where to go. I've never been so lonely in my life, and it's why it took me so long to get sober. Where is the space for me and women like me? Well, gals, it didn't exist. And so when I finally got sober in a very difficult, very painful year and a half long journey of starting and stopping and struggling and trying and fighting, I was so determined at that point that nothing was going to stop me. But it was 50 times more difficult than it had to be because I was completely alone. But somehow the universe conspired to help me get there. And after about a year and a half of sobriety, when I was getting it, starting to feel good, that's when I got pissed off. That was when I went, this is ridiculous. I know that other women are out there like me, and I'm going to help them. And that's why in the last 5 years, that's what I've been building. I've been building this space for you so that you have somewhere where you can go without concern, without worrying about who's going to see you, without being judged. And most importantly, and more important than that, is just being that sense of relief that you're going to feel when you look across and you see another woman just like you, and then another one, and then another one. Because, my dear, you are so not alone. You've been in rooms with women who have drinking problems and you didn't even know it. Here's a fact. You can go into any room, anywhere, and 10% of the people in the room have a problem with alcohol. 10%. That means you've been in the room with her. You've met her. You just didn't know. Why? Because she's keeping a secret and you're keeping a secret and you're both struggling in silence. By the way, you can't just walk in there and say, oh, and before we go, everyone, is anyone here, by the way, struggling with alcohol? Because I'd really like to talk it over with. I mean, come on, let's be reasonable here. So I've created a space, and that's why I'm here. That's what we're talking about. That's why this is the Sobriety Snippets for Ambitious Women Over 40. We exist. We're there, and we need a special space for recovery. When you walk into your doctor's office or your therapist's office and they point you towards a 12-step meeting or this group or that group, or yes, there are other things that have popped up in the last few years. I can't find one just for women over 40 struggling with alcohol. Then you walk in the room and you're talking to 30-year-olds, or the conversation is around raising children. We're at a different stage of life, and we need to be able to talk about our lives with other women who are in the same stage of life. That's what this is about, connecting with others who are just like us. And when you feel that connection, as I've said, all the limiting beliefs will tumble, all the loneliness will disappear, all the fear, all the doubt, all gone. And you will suddenly get this jolt of inspiration and joy when you realize I can build this life free. I can be free. Just wait and see what I'm going to do out there in the world, because you're already kicking ass. The only thing holding you back is the secret drinking at night. Getting sober in secrecy is dangerous, lonely, and never works. You're going to try again and again and again, fail again and again and again, wasting your time, wasting not only your time, but your health, your relationships, all of it. Because the real path to sobriety has to be done in tandem with other women who know exactly how you feel. So there it is. That's why I built this. What does it look like? It's a container that includes both one-on-one connection with me, because I've been there, babe. I know how you feel, plus small group coaching with other women on the path like you. It also includes 8 weeks of internal shifting, discovering what you're running from, finding out what you're trying to hide from, why the drinking. We look at the past, we look at the present, we look at the future. That's why I call it perspectives. But we don't just change our perspective on in time-wise, past, present, and future. We change our perspective on ourselves, our relationships, and the life that we are building. And the transformation is real, and it's a 180, not a 360. We keep what's working and we build what you're dreaming of building, both internally and externally. I know you have a vision for your external world, but what about internally? Well, that vision you have of peace, internal peace and equilibrium, that's what we build. Because if you had that, you wouldn't be reaching for the wine every night. When we get inside this container, we're safe and we know I've come home, I'm here. And women tell me this all the time. Some women will come in and go, I couldn't believe it. Everybody looked so normal, right? Because, well, what do we expect? There's that stereotype. We expect something different, but what we get is quote unquote normal women just like us. Women building big lives, powerful, ambitious women who know how to kick ass. And then they got the wine hanging onto their shirt tails, dragging them down. It's very frustrating and it's gotta go. You don't need that weight dragging you down when you've got amazing things to do in this, the most amazing chapter of your life. And that's what this is, and it's what it should be. This is a chapter of our lives that needs to be for us. It's time for us to do what we want to do. So I've built a space for you to do that. That's what it's for. And I want you to know, my most important thing I want you to know today, gals, is that if you've ever felt like, oh, there's just no one else like me. Hello, here we are, right here. We exist. Trust me, we exist. All you have to do is come and connect with us, and you'll finally feel that connection. And addiction cannot thrive. It cannot survive in connection. Real and true connection destroys addiction. In fact, connection is the opposite of addiction, and that's a fact. And that's exactly why I created the Unstuck Intensive. It's a 3-day experience happening June 20th through 22nd. That's next Friday, gals. It's for high-performing women who are done pretending and ready to get real with themselves and with each other. We're gathering live, no masks, no judgment, just truth, identity, leadership, and a circle of women walking the same path. If your body says yes, come and join us. Head to recoveringwithbecca.com/unstuck to grab your spot. I'll see you inside. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back tomorrow so we can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.